All right, I've released the runners here. They'll be going momentarily. Brisulph, of course, holding the second fastest PB in the world with a 5 minute and 10.466 second time in here. Zelnorack, meanwhile, 95th on the leaderboard with a PB of 8 minutes and 20 seconds.
And as we see Zelno picking up the grenades, and he's just going after the grunts, the swarmers, just by running into him with a shield, not getting much, not using his weapon that much. Brisulph is in the next room about 40, 41, and Zelno's in at 46.
Yeah, now we move on to collect power-ups. That's where you get to see a little bit more variance in weapons. You'll see spreaders, you'll see rockets, and our runners are both looking to see that precious orb that will double their firepower.
Nobody's gotten the orb so far. Brisulph got rockets, chained that with a spreader, and is able to clear the room in 118. Meanwhile, at 118, Zelno got his spreader. Not his spreader, but his orb. And that's what Brisulph is going to look for now, and he's got it. First drop in Meet Mr. Shrapnel.
Zelno, meanwhile, losing it to some soldiers coming out of the top door, and is just finishing up collect power-ups here and heading into Eat My Shrapnel in 141. The key to this room is the 18 Mr. Shrapnels, those slow-crawling individuals on the outside there. They are timed. Up to 4 can appear on the screen, and you have to clear them as well as the soldiers to get out of the room. By doing so at a 2-minute flat time.
And Zelno is spending a little too much time on the swarmers, just ignoring the shrapnels altogether. He can't really do that in this room. Meanwhile, Brisulph has got his orb, he's got his razor shield, he's got the center all under control, and he looks to be out of total carnage around 255. Meanwhile, Zelno enters total carnage around 236. And he's trying to grab that spreader, but he moves out of the way, gets swarmed, and he gets batted down. Brisulph leaves total carnage in 253, which is a really good time. That if he gets really lucky, we could see a sub 530 out of him. I eagerly await the commentator's curse for me to be put on him, so he finishes in about 7 minutes.
Well, Zelno getting another orb here, just trying to hang on to it here, clear all these soldiers in total carnage. Meanwhile, Brisulph is in tank trouble. And trying to get to these rockets in the corner, does so, clears out the upper gunners here.
Yeah, he was being careful about not wanting to lose the orb, and that is the most important thing to keep in this room. While the weapons are nice, you really want to keep the orb to keep the kill count high, so that the room can be done in like by at his pace. It's gonna be he had a double explodey boy, so he's gonna be out at 408.
Still not terrible, but you can see Bryce shaking his head a little bit, or maybe he's just keeping loose. Hard to say. Zelno finally finishing total carnage. The swirls coming out after, I believe it's a 62-second time frame, and Brisulph immediately finding a spreader, but decides to forego that for one at the door. This is going to get some nice damage, probably pop both arms off here.
Yeah, he did some manual damage to did some manual when the first spreader dropped, so he was able to get a little bit of additional count to go for it. Now both arms are popped off. Zelno's in in tank trouble at around 443, and Brisulph on Mutoid Man is just pummeling the damage. And if you see what Brisulph just did there, firing rocket shots behind the neck of Mutoid Man or behind the head, that's a spot where you could do double damage with a rocket or grenades. I usually do it with grenades up close and just get the DPI going.
Yep, final form now for Brisulph. Now gets more spreaders, but that's the worst weapon you can have on this final form. Gets run over by Mutoid Man, being very trolly with the movements, and is just a split second too late on getting the rockets.
Zelno, meanwhile, having just tons of trouble in tank trouble. And Brisulph is going to finish at a time of 5:53. Zelno's still stuck in tank trouble. And there was an orb there. He couldn't get to it. He's going to clear out the swarmers, and he is going to be at Mutoid Man at 6:09. And there's a good spreader chance for Zelno. He's going to pop one arm off, and he's going to get run over.
Yeah, it's difficult to maintain that spreader once the invulnerability wears out and you have the two gunners in front.
Zelno doing some good lobber damage, and then he's got the grenades. He wanted to take care of that grenade and get that entire clip out before picking up rockets, continuing to pick up rockets here. And there's a key, which isn't ideal right now. He picks up a spreader, doesn't die for it, probably didn't feel like it was close enough for him to do it.
Now working the lobbers here, does pop the head off, trying to avoid those exploding shrapnel on the ends here. And just continuing to chain those lobbers.
And he's doing so right now. He's got a final form going. And he's just looking for weapons now and gets run over by Mutoid Man. Mutoid Man becoming Trolltoid Man in a blink of an eye, especially when it comes to that final form. And now we have invulnerability upon invulnerability upon, well, we got some grenades.
Yeah, I know that this is Mario Day, but we don't need all those invincibility stars. They don't do anything to the boss here.
Well, there's a difference between invulnerability and the star. If he had the star, he would be able to run into him and do some damage.
Yeah, but that's only going to be for the shrapnel in this case here. Zelno going to finish with an 853.
Gave it a good effort, but unfortunately, Brisulph is, well, fortunately for Brisulph, though, he's going to take game one.
All right, so we're waiting for our runners to ready up, set up the manipulation. So the winner of this will move on to the second round to face the winner of the 14-19 matchup between Scotty and the Real Zero. And whomever runs up in this will face the runner-up of that respective match as well in the bonus bracket.
And our runners are getting ready set for game number 2. Brisulph is up 1-0.
Yep, and I just counted them down, so we should be underway in a matter of moments here.
And they're off.
Not exactly celebrity sweepstakes, but we'll take it.
I guess Zelno doesn't know how to do the manip. Because he started with what I think is a vulnerability. Now he gets his Razor Shield. And a blistering time for Brisulph. He is going to be out 38 flat.
And Bry on camera acknowledging the crowd for that one. So opening up the spreader, yep.
He wants to keep that DPI high. Nuke will not help the cause, but he will take it just to get a new drop. It is feet. Meanwhile, Zelno just picking up everything, just picking up grenades, just trying to keep his kill count high. And Brisulph leaves at a 124. Didn't get many good drops aside from that one spreader.
Yeah, the drop's not much to write home about for either runner, although I say that, and there's an orb now for Zelno. Just a matter of hanging on to it while finishing the room here. Does so and gets out in a 148 into Eat My Shrapnel.
And kind of careless by Zelno, swings the orb, goes high, and now the orb is gone. And he had four shrapnels there on the same screen. Meanwhile, Brisulph gets out like a 212, 213, and now he's in total carnage and picks up an orb immediately as the first drop. Zelno, meanwhile, gets an orb replacement. Now he's just trying to clean up this room.
Yeah, the thing with newer runners, and this is something that I'm guilty of myself, is being overly erratic with the movements. Trying to figure, well, all right, if they can't hit me if I'm a moving target, but you're the one with the firepower, so you want to try to stay as close to still as possible to be able to control the room.
Yep, and this is, if we take a look at Zelno, he got his Razor Shield. You normally want to just stay in the center and just keep firing at the windows and let the Razor Shield do its job. But because of the erratic nature of his movement, the Razor Shield takes a lot of damage from a lot of incoming swarmers, and that Razor Shield melts almost immediately. Meanwhile, Brisulph is in tank trouble at 332 first, and he had rockets, so he takes out the gunners, able to clear out a little bit of the room, and he's good to go controlling the center.
Yep, picks up a dude, which doesn't really help here. It's better known as a one-up, essentially, and, I mean, might be helpful, but I think at this point just chasing better weaponry drops. That invulnerability's out of the way. Bry's going to ignore that.
Yeah, he he's mainly worried about controlling the center, taking care of the swarmers, and just clearing up the room, and he's able to get out of it at 416.
And you see a shrug on the part of Brisulph, like, all right, wasn't great, but what can you do?
Yes, what can you do when you're Brisulph and you live in a shoe? Oh, Brisulph is going to forego the ball buster because a spreader drop. He's got it. And now he's inside. This is important because if you hit it in the right spot, you can do triple. You could do a lot of damage with the spreader. I believe on the outside it's a 3. When you put the barrel of the spreader inside him by the side, it does like 27. However, if it goes in the middle, like where he's landing some of these lobber shots, like if you take a look at the base of the head where the hole is, and the red gem that's on the stomach of Mutoid Man, if you're inside him with the spreader and are able to land shots there, that is 54 damage and he will melt.
And just that quickly on to final form here. Needs another weapon, though, to finish it off. So, of course, the game's going to give an empty drop. Now some rockets should be able to finish it off here, I think. But if not, the grenades certainly will. But nope, just needs those rockets. So, Bri with another sub-6 here.
We got a little bit of a problem with Brisulph's screen. I don't know what happened there. Some lag.
A little hiccup, but it's going to be a 555.
Yeah, he was already free and clear, so he's going to take game 2. Zelno looking for weapons, maybe have a PB chance. You said his PB was what, 8? It was 8 something, I do believe.
821, I think. Going back to it here, 820. I shorted Zelno a second.
If he lands some good shots, he could PB this. I mean, just firing off a lot of really good lobber shots. He then just goes for the rockets, but thankfully gets another lobber drop, and he's just plowing the damage to him. Like the second arm is popped off. And he gets zapped. With the way Mutoid is going, I think Zelno is playing a US ROM.
Entirely possible, as a few seconds have to be utilized here for the continue. And yeah, there's always this, with newer players, need to kind of see item, grab item, and getting hosed a little bit there with the lobbers at the feet. Not going to take a death for the spreader here. Tried to go for it, but a little too late.
If you're a practicing runner, if you're a runner, you want to just get some practicing on some key moves to boost your time. Dying for a spreader and then just going right up to Mutoid and just firing at him by having the barrel inside Mutoid, that is something that you should practice. And that will help shave countless seconds off your time.
Practice? We talking about practice?
Yes, we are, Alan Iverson.
All right, final form here for Zelno, as Bri getting in some practice on some of the normal and hard percent bosses. The Cobras that you see here, that's usually around, what, the half-hour mark or a little before then?
Depending on the run, sometimes it's a little before, sometimes it's a little after. For me, I have a 43.55 as my PB for normal mode, so it's a little bit after. Like I think I got there like 30-10, 30-20 or something during my run.
All right, 9 minutes and 11 seconds for Zelno.
Oh, this is interesting about Bry. Bry has switched to the American cart.
We saw something similar in last year's tournament, I believe. Trying to maybe just shake some of the bad RNG out, I suppose.
Just to
Bry is on JP, is on the Japanese version. He is confirming.
okay.
It's as if he can hear us or something.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he has got something in the background. He's got us talking, and he's like, "What are those idiots talking about, man?" Anyway, as
No,
Brisulph,
you're certainly not wrong there. One way to find out what us idiots are talking about is to check out Brisulph's stream a little bit later tonight, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, Tecmo Rando Bowl. Shameless plug while we have a moment here.
and away we go. Zelno has started. Is that a fault? No, I don't think that's a false start or anything. Zelno has a Razor Shield in the corner, grabs a nuke. Brisulph does the manip, and they're just trying to get to the magic number of 5,200 to 5,700. Brisulph out at a 40, Zelno out at a 48.
I was going to say, the way it was synced up, it almost looked like they were dead even, but there was about a 6 or 7 second differential there. But we now have both of them here in collect power-ups. Both looking for the orb. Neither of them really finding it, because the game doing what the game does, being mean.
And Brisulph got nothing in collect power up, so he's out at a 130.
Probably less than thrilled with that, but again, the game's gonna only give what it gives. Now, finally giving an orb for Bry.
Probably a little bit of a reward for getting through collect power ups in a good time with nothing. Sometimes the game provides.
About a 213 into total carnage for Brisulph. Zelno, meanwhile, still working on those Mr. Shrapnels. Uses up the last of the Razor Shield. And forgoes the drop, knowing that it's close, one to keep the distance in this case here. Grenade's not ideal, really up until the later stages of Mutoid Man.
Drops his orb, unfortunately, just makes one skittish step and it just goes away.
Oh, and then
Instead,
tried to get the spreader and gets clubbed down.
that is very unfortunate. He's going to get a replacement Razor Shield, though. So he's just going to use it to plow through as many swarmers as he can. Brisulph out of total carnage at a 304. placement orb chance he's going to get it, and those swarmers up top were coming.
Oh, but got had a little bit too much, I guess, firepower coming his way. Too many soldiers, a little overwhelmed, and now just trying to clear these out as quickly as possible. Oh, but gets hit with the swirl. When you're in total carnage for, I believe it's more than 62 seconds, there's that swirl that comes. I believe it's known as the swirl of sorrow or sadness. I think I've also heard as a
Swirl of
nickname
shame
for it.
is what we've kind of also called it as well. I remember Cards calling that a couple days ago when he was doing commentary. Brisulph gets a nuke. He's out at a 414, getting ready for Mutoid Man. Around the same time, Zelno enters the secret room, and that means he will be entering tank trouble at around a 442.
Oh gosh, spreader on the feet, and again for the third race in a row, Brisulph foregoing the ball buster to go immediately for that spreader damage.
And he got a good amount of it. He's able to pop an arm off of it. And now the rockets, he wants to use those to take out the gunner. There was invulnerability, but Mutoid blocks it. He's not worried about that invulnerability that much because if a spreader drops, he could easily die for it. Instead, he gets another invulnerability, so he's going to be held up a little bit. Oh, if that spreader dropped quicker.
Order of operation game.
Please excuse my Sally Aunt Deer. Heads popped off for Brisulph at 525. Zelno grabs a nuke. Was able to clear a little bit of the room. And now final form for Brisulph at 538. He's now looking for weapons and get some rockets. He should be able to take care of Mutoid with these 2 rocket clips. Yep, he does that. Take a mind death, and by the time Zelno starts firing against Mutoid, Brisulph will leave the room and finish with a 611. And that is 3 in a row for Brisulph, as he will move on to round 2.
And a little Jose Batista, no doubt about it. Little flex at the end there from Brisulph, the former 2-time tournament champion and currently second fastest time holder in this category in the world.
You'd have to feel that in the future he will try to get his record. He will get his record back. I know he's trying for it right now, but you got to feel that when the time arises, he and CHX will have another great war the first to get it under 5 minutes.
Well, if you ask Brisulph, and believe me, I have on numerous occasions, he feels that it's CHX's to take, and that Father Time is starting to win the battle that takes all of us. Personally, I say that's horse hockey, but that's just one person's opinion.
All right, we'll feed you your Geritol in the middle of the break. Don't worry about that, Grandpa Burgundy.
What, just because I was quoting something from MASH? Come on now.
Well, Sherman Potter also needed Geritol, so need I say more? Anyway, Zelno on final form at 8:15. He's trying to look for weapons to try to finish off Trolltoid. He's got grenades and unfortunately gets ran over.
Yeah, great spreader, but not for the final form. And another spreader after it. This is just the game knowing.
And he's going to be out of here at like around 8:49. And once again, I don't know what I'm talking about. It's an 8:51.
It was a high 850. Stop the clock late. Either way, though, 3-0 for Brisulph here. Bry is going to move on into the second round.